Hi, I'm Millie Taylor, and I am a professor of English literature at a Southern Community College. I'm not allowed to say which one right now because we're in the middle of a tiny legal dispute, which, by the way, was entirely not my fault. So anyway, as I said, I teach English literature, and my particular area of interest is here we go, the writing of Mr. William Shakespeare. Now, I know a lot of y'all are afraid of it, or you think you don't understand it, that you had it in high school maybe, and you're like, what is that? That's not English. Well, yes, it is. So I thought, since I love it so much, I thought I do these little videos where I talk about a different play each time, and hopefully pique y'all's interest, and then you'll go read it on your own, for real. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give, because we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to give a brief synopsis of the play and talk about a few of the main characters and recite a little bit of one of the important monologues or scenes, and hopefully this will pique your interest. So I thought today we'd start with Hamlet, because I think most of y'all have heard of it, even if you haven't read it or seen it somewhere. So, all right, so Hamlet, the play takes place in Denmark. Now, Prince Hamlet, or as I like to call him, Hamlet Jr., because his daddy's name was Hamlet. So Hamlet Jr. is away at school in Wittenberg, or is it? No, it's Wittenberg. I get it confused with Battenberg because they're both in Germany. So he's away at school in Wittenberg, the University of Wittenberg in Germany, and this is taking place in the 1500s or so. So, you know, it's horses we're dealing with. So he gets word by letter that his daddy, his papa, the King Hamlet, has died, and he's got to come home right away. So he goes racing home. By the time he gets there, it's 2 months later in Denmark, and finds out, much to his chagrin, that his mama has married his uncle, his daddy's brother, Claudius. I mean, the body's barely cold. And Hamlet is real angry and confused, and because he's really a child, I mean, he's like a professional student. He's 30 years old and still in school. And it's not like he's becoming an ophthalmologist or something, because that takes time and all, but no, he's just a professional student and doesn't want to grow up. And now he's hit with this, and he just doesn't know what to do. And we come to the to be or not to be speech. I'm just going to do a little bit, which is to be or not to be. That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep no more, and by sleep to say we end the heartaches and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. And I'm going to stop there. And so he doesn't know what to do, and he's acting so badly to everybody. He's being so rude to Claudius and his mama, and so now we come to Polonius. Polonius is the king's advisor, and I think he was also he was also King Hamlet's advisor, and he's got a son named Laertes and a daughter named Ophelia. And everybody thinks Ophelia and Hamlet are in love, or at least have a crush on each other, but nothing good's going to happen, because, I mean, she's not royalty, so he can't marry her anyway. Anyway, so Polonius talks to the queen and says, you have got to get a hold of this boy. He's just acting so badly. He's acting rude. He's crazy. You got to stop this. You got to really put down your fist here and talk to him. So he's there in her chambers talking, and she's told Hamlet to come to her chambers to talk to her. So Polonius goes and hides behind the curtain, or as they called it back then, the Arius. So he's hiding back there, and Hamlet comes up, and he's getting real mad with Mama about marrying her brother-in-law, basically, and he's getting kind of violent, and she yells for help, and Polonius behind the Arius yells for help, and Hamlet goes running because he thinks it's Claudius, and he stabs right through the curtain Arius and kills poor Polonius. Well, I mean, and at this point, Gertrude's about to lose it, and he sees the ghost again, who says, look at your poor mama, look at what you've done. She doesn't know what's going on. You got to help her and stop being so mean to her. So then, now at this point, Ophelia is also losing her mind because, oh my God, Hamlet has been so mean and cruel to her. And then he goes and kills her daddy. And so his son, Polonius' son, Laertes, gets word and comes home, and he wants to kill Hamlet. And then, just as he gets there, well, Ophelia, poor little Ophelia, she's just going so crazy. She's like, oh, hello, look at me, oh dear. And so she's trying to put flowers up in a tree, and there's this moving monologue where Gertrude tells him how and where she died. And what happened, she was putting flowers up in a tree, and this branch broke, and she went falling down, and she's floating there like this, and her clothes suddenly, they finally soak up the water, and she gets sucked down into a muddy death. And it's just so sad, but it's just a beautiful monologue. And at this point, Laertes hooks up with Claudius. They're in cahoots. They're like, okay, we're going to kill Hamlet. We're just going to kill Hamlet somehow. We'll figure this out. And so then Hamlet decides, I want to check this out. So he hires a bunch of actors. Now, mind you, remember, I'm skipping around because there's just too much detail to cover everything. So he hires a bunch of actors, and he writes a play basically reenacting the death, the murder, because he wants to see Claudius's reaction, and boy, does he see it. Claudius does not like what he sees, and so he's sitting there just going, oh my God, he knows, doesn't he know? He knows. And so then what happens, I'm just going to check my notes here before we're running out of time. So Hamlet, so we're going to just skip a while. So then they're having a big party at the end, and it's all set up that Laertes is going to kill Hamlet, and they put poison on the sword, on the tip. And so Hamlet actually kills Laertes, but he scratches him enough that he's dying from the poison. And then they also, just in case that didn't work, in case Hamlet got him first, they put poison in wine, and instead of Hamlet drinking it, Queen Gertrude drinks it. And there's questions about whether she knew it was poisoned or not and drank it on purpose. And then Hamlet runs, before he dies, he runs through Claudius, so basically everybody dies. But there's so much that I had to leave out, and it's such a wonderful story, so I want y'all to now go, and hopefully this has piqued your interest, and you'll go read it for real. And so again, this is Professor Millie Taylor, and I'll see you next time, and read your Shakespeare. Bye.